My name is Evan Walker. I'm 32, live just outside of Seattle. And this is the story I've never told anyone. I call it. She looked at me and said, "Can I trust you with a secret?" It started in late October, the kind of gray Washington morning where the sky feels like wet concrete pressing down on your shoulders. I was in the office early, as always, half out of habit, half out of a need to keep myself busy enough not to think. My job as a senior project manager at Hart & Mercer, an architecture firm, was demanding, but it didn't demand heart. Just precision, order, timelines. That suited me. Hart had gotten me into trouble before. At 7:43 a.m., I heard the elevator ding. I looked up, and there she was. Her name was Julia Beckett, the new design consultant from our Toronto office. She walked in with her coat still wet from the rain, dark red lipstick slightly smudged, carrying a box of sketch pads like they were treasure. Tall, elegant, but not fragile. She looked like she'd been through something. I could tell. And maybe that's why I couldn't stop watching her. Because I'd been through something too. She glanced my way. Our eyes locked for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled. Small, quick, and gone before I could return it. That's how it began. Over the next few weeks, we worked closely on a major redevelopment project for a historical waterfront site. She was brilliant. Her designs were modern but poetic, full of subtle nods to the past. And she listened when no one else did. Listened like she could hear the ghosts in the room. Most days we met in the project war room, surrounded by blueprints and unfinished coffee. She'd always hum quietly when thinking old jazz standards, usually. It made me feel like time slowed down. One Friday night, we stayed late reviewing final submissions. The office was empty, just the sound of thunder rolling outside. I offered her a ride home. "Only if you drive better than you read CAD files," she teased. I smiled. "That bad, huh?" "Painful," she laughed, "but weirdly endearing." We took my truck. It smelled like pine and dust and regret. I remember the way she looked at the rain slipping down the passenger window. Quiet, thoughtful. Halfway to her apartment, she turned to me and said something I still hear in my head at night. "Evan, can I trust you with a secret?" I slowed the car. The streetlight flickered above us. "Of course," I said. "Yeah, always." She hesitated, then looked away. "Not yet," she whispered. But I needed to know if I could say that out loud. That night I didn't sleep. I laid in bed thinking about her words, about what kind of secret makes someone ask like that. And more importantly, why it felt like I already knew the answer. By Thanksgiving, everything changed. The office buzzed with deadlines and cold weather moods. But for me, there was only one thread connecting everyday Julia. We'd started having lunch together, texting after hours, little things. Then, one evening after a client dinner, she stood outside my truck and kissed me. It wasn't dramatic or rushed. It was soft and slow and searching, like she was asking a question and praying for the answer. We didn't talk about it after. We just kept showing up for each other. But I noticed something, a kind of fear in her, like she was always calculating what to say, what not to reveal. One night, I asked her about her past. "Do you have family in Toronto?" She paused too long. "My mother died when I was 21, she said. "My father, I haven't spoken to in years." Long story. There was pain behind those eyes, the kind that leaves bruises you can't see. I didn't press. A few days later, it all unraveled. Our firm had a holiday mixer, fancy rooftop venue. Wine, music forced small talk. Julia looked stunning in a forest green dress. I remember feeling proud to be near her. And then a man walked in. Tall, salt and pepper hair, expensive coat, the kind of face that made people go quiet. Julia went pale. He walked straight to her. "Hello, Jules." My chest tightened. She didn't say a word, just turned and walked to the balcony. I followed her out. "Who was that?" I asked. She looked at me like I just pulled a thread that would unravel the whole tapestry. "My father. But I thought. I told you," she cut in. "We don't talk. I didn't expect him here." Her voice trembled. "You okay?" I asked gently. She nodded, but she wasn't. Later that night, She showed up at my apartment. No words, just collapsed into my arms. "I want to tell you everything," she whispered. "But I need you to promise me something first." "Anything," I said. She looked up at me. "No matter what you hear, you'll remember who I was with you. Here, now." I said I would. I meant it, but I didn't know what I was promising. Not yet. A week later, Julia was gone. No note, no call. Her number disconnected. Her apartment cleared out. HR said she'd resigned suddenly and transferred back to Canada. No details. I felt like someone had slammed a door on a chapter one never got to finish. Then, 2 days after Christmas, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. "Meet me where the water touches the stones. 11 p.m. Come alone." It was signed J. The docks were quiet that night. Lake Union stretched out in front of me, moonlight flickering across its surface like fractured glass. The wind was sharp and cut through my coat, but I didn't care. I stood where the rocks met the water, the exact spot Julia had once taken me during a site visit. She'd said it reminded her of home. My watch ticked past 11 p.m. I was starting to think I'd made a fool of myself, chasing a ghost. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. There she was, hood pulled low, breath rising in small clouds. My heart caught in my throat. "Julia." She didn't smile, just stepped closer. Her eyes were darker than I remembered, guarded, haunted. "I didn't know if you'd come," she said. "I didn't know if you were alive," I replied. "What happened?" She looked down at the water. "I made a mistake. A long time ago. I thought I could outrun it, but it caught up with me." She handed me a flash drive. Small, silver, no label. "What's this?" "My father," she said. "And what he does." "Julia, I don't. Just listen, okay?" Her voice cracked. "He's not who he pretends to be. The foundation he runs, the overseas humanitarian aid, it's a front." I blinked. "For what?" "Money laundering, political manipulation. Worse, I was part of it. Not by choice, but I signed things. I helped file reports. I was young. I didn't know what I was enabling until it was too late." My pulse was thudding in my ears. She continued, voice trembling. "When I confronted him, he threatened me. Told me I'd go down with him. So I left. Changed cities. Names. I thought I could start over. Then he found me at the mixer. I looked at the drive. "Why give this to me?" "Because I trust you," she said. "Because you believed in who I was when I barely remembered myself. And because I don't know who else would do the right thing with this." I stared at her. A storm of confusion, anger, and something deeper I couldn't name twisting inside me. "You could have told me." "I wanted to," she said. "But what we had, it was real. And I didn't want to poison it with my past." I wanted to scream. I wanted to hold her. Instead, I said, "What are you going to do now?" "I'm going back to Toronto. There's a journalist I trust. But if something happens to me, I need someone on the outside to know the truth." "And you're sure this is the truth?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "Evan, I wish it weren't." She reached out and touched my hand. "I don't expect you to wait. I needed you to know who I really am, before I disappear again." I looked at her, and I swear, for a second it felt like goodbye, but I wasn't ready for goodbye. 3 days later, I was followed. First, I thought it was coincidence. Same black SUV in my mirror. Same man outside my gym. Then I came home one night to find my apartment broken into. Nothing stolen, just rearranged. A message. I plugged in the flash drive. Encrypted. Hidden folders. Photos, documents, wire transfers. Names. Names I recognized. I called my old friend from college, Nick. He was now an FBI analyst in DC. We met in a diner, tucked in the back corner. I slid the drive across the table. "Julia Beckett," I said. "She's in danger. I think I am too." Nick took one look at the contents and went pale. "Jesus Christ, Evan, you have no idea what you're sitting on. Then help me do something about it." He nodded. "But if this is real, this isn't just about your girlfriend. This is national. Maybe international. Just find her, I said, and make sure she's safe. A week passed. Then 2. No word from Julia. I kept working, kept pretending, but I was unraveling. Then I got the call. Nick, we found her, he said. She made contact with the journalist. There's a story about to break on 3 major outlets. We have a federal case building around the evidence. And Julia? I asked. She's in protective custody. But she wanted me to tell you something. I held my breath. She said, tell him I meant it all. Every moment, every word. Tell him I never felt more like myself than when I was with him. My throat closed up. I walked out to the same place where she'd handed me the drive. Watched the water again. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself cry. 6 months later, the world knows her name now. Julia Beckett, whistleblower who exposed global corruption network tied to nonprofit empire. Her father, Henry Beckett, was arrested in Prague trying to board a private plane. Several high-ranking officials across 3 countries went down with him. The media calls it the benevolence scandal. I watched the trial unfold from the sidelines. My name kept out of the papers, just like she asked. They offered me a chance to testify. I declined. Julia's voice was stronger than anything I could have added. The woman who once asked me if I could be trusted with a secret became the reason the truth came to light. But even with the truth exposed, something still haunts me. Because love doesn't get immunity. It doesn't go into protective custody. It just lingers, aching quietly inside the people who can't say goodbye. I haven't seen Julia since that night at the docks. She's under a new identity now, in an undisclosed city. I don't know if I'll ever hear from her again. But last week I received a package. No return address. Inside was a sketchbook. The first page. A pencil drawing of me, standing by the water, shoulders slumped, hands in pockets. Underneath, in her handwriting, where the water touches the stones. I'll always find you there. I sat in my truck for hours with that sketchbook on the passenger seat, thinking about her laugh, the way she hummed jazz when she worked, the way she kissed me like it was a promise. I thought about how life gives you these people, flashes of fate that burn brighter than anything you've ever seen, then vanish before you can hold them. I used to be angry about it. I used to think the story ended too soon. But I don't anymore, because I learned something I never expected. Sometimes the greatest love story of your life doesn't end in forever. It ends in truth. And maybe that's enough, because I was trusted with her secret, because I believed in her when it mattered. Because love isn't always about what you keep. It's about what you're willing to let go of for the sake of someone else's freedom. My name is Evan Walker, and that was the story I've never told anyone. Until now. I called it. She looked at me and said, "Can I trust you with a secret? And if you've ever loved someone you couldn't hold on to, I hope you know, you still held something sacred, even if only for a moment." The end.